Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through your day. Now, here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Welcome to Dare a New Belief, where you will find light and life, love and joy, healing, faith, and hope. A place where you get to believe what is possible for your life. And today I have the great honor to have with me Sue Borgerson. Sue lives in Lakeville with her husband. She has 3 children. Her 2 youngest children were in a car accident in 2008. And thankfully, her youngest survived and is doing well. Her middle child, Kayla, did not survive the accident. Kayla donated organs, eyes, and tissue. Since then, Sue has presented to driver's ed classes, Rotary clubs, and health professionals about the importance of donation. She is also the chapter leader for Compassionate Friends in the southern suburbs of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Compassionate Friends is an international organization helping parents, grandparents, and siblings cope as bereaved families. Welcome, Sue, and thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story.
Yes, thank you, Nada.
I'm so grateful that you're here because this is a hard subject and this is something you and I have in common. So I didn't know Sue prior to last week was the first time that we met. And and she's a beautiful soul and lost her daughter in a car accident also. And Sue, that's what this conversation is going to be about, because as parents and as mothers, like, how does a person ever recover from that? How is it? Because you have gone on to live this beautiful life, honoring Kayla, honoring your family. And that's one of the questions that people have is like, how can you do it? How do you do that? So I would like to start this interview, because it's our inner selves we're talking about, with asking you if you can share with us that event that led up to that car accident that took Kayla's life.
Well, it was a Wednesday evening, November of 2008. I was with my husband and my older son, Kyle, and we were waiting for the 2 girls to meet us. We got a phone call about 6 o'clock at night saying that they had been in a car accident. So we drove home as this accident happened about 100 feet from our front doorstep. I remember the scene very well. I remember the policeman telling us to get a friend or neighbor to drive us to the hospital. So we did. They took Katie to HCMC via ground ambulance, and Kayla was airlifted to HCMC. They were 17 and 15 at the time.
17 and 15. And Katie is your other daughter. Katie is the surviving daughter, correct?
Yes, she's the youngest. Yes.
Okay. And so, and this is one of the things that we talked when we visited in person. We spoke for, I think it was 3 hours, and so many things to talk about. And when I left, I remember thinking to myself, what is it like for you to drive home? And please know at any time, Sue, if any of these questions are like, no, I don't want to answer, please just let me know that, because I want to honor where you're at and what you want to share. But I was wondering, because with my daughter, she's at a major intersection in one of the suburbs south of the Twin Cities, and I go through that intersection often. And I always think about my daughter when I'm there. I mean, not in the most pleasant ways. And I wonder, because when this accident happened 100 yards from your door, I mean, how is that for you now when you are driving home and you drive through that space, through that area?
Yeah, sometimes it's tough. It was really tough in the beginning. I drive through that intersection. I say the shortest prayer I can. I say, God bless you, Kayla. And, because Katie survived, we talked about moving. And she really did not want to move. She liked her school. She liked her friends. She liked her neighborhood. She liked the house. And when you're so grateful that Katie survives, you listen to that.
Yeah.
I did say to my husband, I said, if we have to stay here, I need something positive. And I would stare at that intersection. And finally, one day it hit me. I told my husband, I said, when we look out at that intersection, we know that that is the place where our little girl left this earth and went to heaven.
Yeah. And is that positive piece with that intersection that you bring with you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Because it's so powerful because as you know, the work that you do, because you do work with compassionate friends, and I know that you know of other people that haven't um, come to terms with the loss of their child, or a grandparent that hasn't come to terms with loss of the child, and to be able to see that this is the spot that when I look out my window and I see this intersection, this is the place where my daughter went to heaven. And when that brings peace to a person, I mean, the healing just, I think, begins on such a level that is exponential, right? That's how I would interpret that.
right, right, right.
So, Sue, can you tell us how did this tragedy impact Katie since she was in the car with Kayla?
Yeah, when Katie had her own brain injury, um, and so she has dealt with that over the past years. Um, Her testing shows that she scores low for visual memory. So she rereads a lot, and she's also a slow test taker. Interestingly enough, though, when she was in high school, still, she figured out that if she read her textbooks aloud at the kitchen table, her audio memory was just fine, and she only had to read it once. So I think it's interesting how, on her own, she came up with that. And then in high school, she was granted extra time on tests. And in college, also, the college she went to was small, and they granted her extra time if she ever needed it on tests. She never had to use it in college. She said once that it felt like just knowing that option was there, it relaxed her. And she said, I'm usually the last one out of the room, but I finished all my tests, and she did very well in college too. So we're very proud of her. She graduated with a degree 4 years ago. Also in the accident, both girls were seatbelted in, but Kayla's head hit Katie in the mouth. And so Katie lost her top 4 teeth, a lot of jawbone, and damaged her bottom 4 teeth. And so she's had 5 surgeries at the Mayo Clinic. The first one was bone grafting to rebuild the jawbone on top. And then she's had implant teeth since then. She had one surgery last fall to fix her broken nose, where they took cartilage from her ear and repaired her septum. So now her nose is fixed as well.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, amazing. Isn't that amazing? My gosh. And how was she emotionally? How did that impact Katie emotionally? Because I just can't imagine what that would be like to be in the car with your sister. And I know there's all of the physical that happened, but how did she handle that emotionally?
Yeah, she doesn't remember the accident. She doesn't remember 3 days. I know, um, we kind of dreaded coming home to that intersection. And I know one of the things Katie said early on is she was dreading coming home and looking at Kayla's empty room. But she has done some things to honor her. I've seen her in her room going through her things, and she loved wearing her clothes, and they always wore each other's clothes. And they had a pact between them that if somebody complimented you, you had to say it's Kayla's shirt or it's Katie's shirt.
I love it.
And she did that after the accident. She picked out her favorites and would wear those shirts or sweaters and would tell people that it was, Kayla's shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
I know I've seen her take pictures of things in her room that she never wants to forget. I think overall, she's doing well, you know, mentally as well.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. So now 11 years have passed and Katie, she graduated college. So what is she doing now? Is she pursuing a career that she went to school for?
Yes, she's working in marketing for a company. She's a very creative person and loves marketing. So that's what she's doing.
Oh, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. So how was it for you? So I'm gonna transition a little bit back to Kayla. And
Mhm.
how was it for you that you were able to handle the passing of Kayla?
Well, in the beginning, I was devastated. I mean, this is something that happens to other families,
Yeah.
not our family. I just remember in the hospital praying for a miracle, and we deserve that miracle, and I just really believed we were going to get that miracle. Um, so, because they were able to keep um, get Kayla on a respirator, we did have some time in the hospital with her while they were running all the tests to determine the amount of brain function that she had left. So those were the hours that we would hold her hand and I would just pray for her to wake up, or and some of the crazy things I did. I remember I would say I love you and she wouldn't answer, and I remember screaming at her in the hospital saying, answer me back, answer me. And then the doctor came over and explained that she can't hear you right now. Whatever your spiritual beliefs are yours to have, but she can't hear you. um, so it's really dark in the beginning, and you wonder if you're going to survive this. How is our family going to survive? How can we go on living without Kayla? She's just a part of your family, and you think that's going to be your family for life once you have children.
Yeah.
um, I think, as I think too, in the beginning, there's this numbness and this shock. And I think that's there for a reason. I think it helps you through some of those dark times, until you can kind of get a grip on reality. A lot of people do say, how do you get through something like that? And I've said you get through it by faith, family, and friends, and in that order.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And oh my God, so I could just feel that pain when you're in the hospital and you are yelling at Kayla, answer me when you're telling her that you love her. I mean, it's right, it's a parent's worst nightmare. And the whole knowing that this never would happen to me, this happens to other families. And and it's just right, the whole world gets pulled out from underneath you. And I am in total agreement with you. I think that this beautiful body, how God has designed our mind, body, spirit, that when we have that kind of trauma and tragedy, that we just go numb, that we just, it's like autopilot to protect everything. It's almost like you're cocooned. At least for me, it felt like the arms of God just wrapped around you, and you didn't have to do anything. That is your protection, because it's too much for a heart, literally for the heart, to be able to handle um, that kind of tragedy, that kind of heartbreak, that kind of oh my God, how do I do this?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Oh, and I have to tell you again just how grateful I am, because I know how painful this is, and it opens up wounds, and I just am so grateful that you are willing to be here with us and to be authentic and honest on the pain and how this was for you, man. How,
Hmm.
how did it impact the rest of your family? So we talked about Katie. How about your husband and Kayla's older brother, Kyle? How did that impact them?
Yeah, I know we were all affected, and everyone grieves differently. Um, I personally had a need to talk about it all the time, and the rest of my family would turn to me once in a while and say, okay, we've had enough Kayla talk now.
Mm,
Um, so, they just weren't ready for that at the time. Of course, I worried about Kyle and Katie both, and how are they